Just connect the history and now. Imagine being here as a student here. Maybe you've been here before. We talked about the samsara. I don't know whether you read Anamataka Sutta, where they said, in this samsara, you cannot find somebody who has never been your brother, sister, mother, father. So maybe you're a student here before. So let us sit for a moment or two. Take a few slow, deep breaths to relax and oxygenate the blood. And then after that, you breathe as normal as possible. Bring your awareness to the sound, external sound. Simply be aware of hearing, and then come back to the breath. If thoughts arise in the present moment, simply be aware of thinking. If thoughts of the past, just be aware of remembering. If the thoughts of the future, simply be aware of planning. All these are thoughts. Simply be aware of thinking, and then come back to the breath. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be free from suffering and causes. Sad. Okay. Yes. So, with the little bit of time we have, I would like to tell you something that I got to learn when we were in this place. It is a beautiful thing to do, a pilgrimage, actually. The teaching we learn, it comes alive, tenaciously alive. When you read the suttas, the Buddhist literature, and then when you come for a pilgrimage and see yourself and bear witness to this, everything becomes alive. Let me tell you one thing that came alive. I would capture it as new wine in old bottle. I think that's from a Bible. One thing that came is I studied the Buddhist, what's called Abhidhamma, Buddhist philosophy and psychology, and I came to know the word kusala and how it actually came to be. In other words, different ways of interpreting it, and Pali language, etymology, splitting it. But one of them was kusagras. And I've never seen it in Uganda. Definitely not in USA, kusagras. And when I was when we were in Ananda, we went to visit different places, Ananda Hotel. We went, we crossed the river, Nalanda, and then they told me that's kusa grass. And also, he told us actually they made a mat for the Buddha to sit. I asked him, actually all of you he told you, but nobody maybe noticed that, that somebody gave the mat. Let me call him, hey, yeah, my brother, come. He's going to tell you for sure what the kusa means. Please tell us, what do you use kusa grass? In 5 minutes. 2 minutes.
1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute. No problem. Problem kwebat ni.
Kusha grass is having some medicinal properties as well. So in Hindu tradition, we are using those grasses whenever we are doing any special prayer or puja. So we use as a holy grass, like Siddhartha also he used. So those traditions were before he became Buddha from that time. And even nowadays, like if there is some solar eclipse or lunar eclipse, so we have believed this that whatever the eatables we have those particular time, we cannot eat after those things because of the raises, some teasing spoil and something like that. So we are using those kusha grasses. If we can put those kusha grasses into the water, milk on all the eatables, it prevents from all those problems. So this is what we have believed for the kusha grass.
Okay, thank you very much. So in Hindi is kusha, in Pali is kusa. And the Pali word kusala, it comes from grass. Because that grass is actually used for purification purposes in their ceremony. Buddha was very smart. So while this the mat he sat on, and according to the Hindu tradition, is actually for purification. It's a ceremony. In fact, they even use it around their fingers and around their fingers when they're doing ceremony. Yes, and it's sharp. It can actually pierce you. So what they do, they put it in water to remove that pierciness. Yes, and now knowing this and that this was during, even before the time of the Buddha, this grass was using for ceremony. And once the Buddha got enlightened, he really taught about what's kusala, coming from grass, and also akusala. Same thing, new wine in old bottle. Now what the Buddha did is to give it a higher psychological, philosophical meaning. What does this state of mind? It's about state of mind, it's not about the grass now. He moved it from grass, which was ceremonial for purification, to really a mental state. Now we have a word kusala, which means skillful. Because it's a skill actually even to get it, otherwise to cut. So there's a property of cutting, and even kusala, which is wholesome state of mind, have a property of cutting the opposite state of mind. You see where it becomes very interesting? It cuts greed, hatred, and delusion once you cultivate it. So when you overcome these mental defilements, you purify your mind. In one discourse, the Buddha talks about, it's in the four foundation of mindfulness, the Buddha talks about the purpose of meditation is to purify the mind. Purify from what? Greed, hatred, and delusion. So here they are in their ceremonies using kusa grass to purify. To even those rays they were talking about, they put it in water to purify the water so that there's no rays that coming from it. So it's just amazing thing. For me, I read it a long time ago in a book, the etymology of the word kusala. It comes from kusa grass. I've never seen a kusa grass in USA. So now I saw it arrive. And then they told me the history about it. You know, you can even Google yourself. And who brought it in Buddhism now? It is a Buddhaghosa. Buddhaghosa lived 1,500 years ago. He was an Indian monk, and he's a commentator to the main book, the Pali Canon. And Atta Salini, that's a book, because he's an Indian monk who's a meditating monk, and he wrote the book called The Path to Purification, Visuddhimagga. So he's able to tell us the etymology of the word kusala. It comes from kusa grass. He wrote an encyclopedia of Buddhism. And at Salini is where he said that the word kusala, it comes from kusa, grass, which is you need a skill, and also is a purification, for purification purpose. So now, as a group, you have known now where the word kusala comes from. Skillful or wholesome, and unskillful is akusala. Now the question for the sake of our discussion, what is the difference and how can I make this difference? I'm sure you've heard about this wholesome and unwholesome, kusala, skillful and unskillful. How do we know? Now you know where this word comes from. For me, learning doesn't stop. On this trip, I'm learning a lot. Especially for me, I was so fascinated seeing the kusa grass all over. And I said, oh, this is kusala. Any attempt to study Buddhism, really, you cannot fail to see this word kusala and akusala. We don't use so much the word good and bad, though we use it which is good and evil. But for us, the word kusala, which is wholesome, and akusala and wholesome, it really speaks volumes. Other than black and white, good and bad. Who said? Me, they challenged me in Uganda. He said that is good, bad. And is it Pope or you, monk, Buddha, or what? But once you get into the realm of kusala and akusala, because it has a psychological difference between those two terms. Anybody who can contribute? What's the difference? I will tell you, don't worry if you don't know. We hear it, oh, cultivate a hosa. Even the Buddha actually, when he went to this place, he went to a place where they taught Kalama Sutta, and the people ask him, have you come to convert us? Every teacher come here and tear the other people's tradition. This is a bad religion. Are you telling us also to convert to Buddhism? The Buddha said, no, I've not come here to convert you. I've just came to tell you this is wholesome, kusala, and this is unwholesome, akusala, and this is the root of wholesome, and this is the root of akusala, mola, it's called mola, root. And then this is the root of unwholesome. And now they relaxed because they thought they're going to. So I use the same template. People who, when I go to Uganda, you've converted all people. I said, no, I've never even converted even my mother. I just told them what's kusala, and this is akusala. And they went to akusala, and and you choose which you want. Anyway, let's spend 1 minute. Who knows the difference between the two?
Yeah, I think kusala is when you know yourself. That's important. When you know yourself that a good quality has arisen. Let's say you do metta, and then you know yourself. You don't like this person. That's a kusala. And you efface that with kusala. You replace that with metta. You give metta to the person that you don't like. And all different states of mind that are wholesome and unwholesome. When you have an unwholesome state of mind, you drop that and efface it with kusala.
Okay. And thank you. For the sake of time, I'll give you the distinction. The first one is called motivational principle. Yeah. What, in other words, you do things can be the same, The action can be the same, but the motivation is different. People are traveling, walking, they're here actually. Many people are here. Some of them, their motivation is to come and take a photo. For us, our motivation is a pilgrimage. Others, they're here to beg. Others, they're here to do. So the same action of being here, but the motivation is different. So now we look at the motivation principle to track down whether this was a kusala or kusala. So the motivation principle for wholesome is generosity, loving kindness, compassion, wisdom. Then, on the other side of kusala, the motivation principle is the opposite, is greed, attachment, then anger, aversion, confusion, delusion, and ignorance. And then you can keep on going, fear. Also, when you do something out of fear. There's even a discourse in Diganika talks about 4 ways of going right, 4 ways of going wrong. There they added also fear. In other words, fear also, if it's a motivation factor, then it is going to lead you to an unskillful kusala. Then that's the first distinction. The second distinction is consequential principle. Again, there are many discourses the Buddha is talking about how to make a distinction between what's wholesome and unwholesome. In other words, the action you are doing, where is it leading us? Is it leading us to suffering? Is it leading to the suffering of others and the suffering of both? If that that's what you are involved, that your behavior, then we say that's akusala. And if your behaviors is leading to the happiness of oneself, happiness of others, and happiness of both, then that is wholesome. So we have on one side consequential principle, the results of your behavior, whether bodily, verbal, or mental. We look at where is it leading us. Is it leading us to Nibbana, or what's the opposite of Nibbana? Bananas. No, I just... because bananas is a staple food of Uganda. You see Banana Republic and all that. So anyway, don't think like this. I'm saying that we look at where this is leading us. If it's leading us to away from Nibbana, then we know for sure. If it's leading us to suffering and all that. And then motivation principle is more what's behind this. What's behind this action? So one is forward-looking and one is behind-looking. We don't have a lot of time. There's more to this, the distinction between the two, but I think this is good enough. You say sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
This is a good start. More to come. How to distinguish between grass, this kusa grass. And then the Buddha actually made the word very meaningful so that it can purify our mind. All Indian, I even asked him, do all Indians know this kusa grass? He said, yes. We use it in ceremony for purification. And here is old wine, new wine, old bottle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhante.
Any little question, because always I want to question people if they have any question about kusala and akusala. Will you able to show us at least one blade, because it's sharp? You have to handle it with care. And it can pierce you. The same with kusala, it pierces. It cuts the opposite. It cuts, when you cultivate kusala, wholesome states of mind, it pierces greed, hatred, and delusion. So for me, it was amazing on this trip to learn this, to see it firsthand, the grass. It was all over actually on that river Niranjana. It was all over. And that's why they cut actually, and they made a cushion. This one was bought by BJ. BJ, I think next time you make me a kusa.
Business idea for somebody about Gaia. To sell kusum grass mats.
Yeah.
That'd be a great business
That's right.
idea.
Yes.
I know somebody.
Kesharia was too far. You have been many times. You see that they tighten the knots on the grasses. Those are the kusha grasses.
Now someone's already done
We'll
it.
see. I will see.
Yeah. So anyway, it's my reflection is finished and done. Bas, tige. Any question? Any question? Tige. Just any question? Please, please.
I have a quick question. Both conditions need to be met. Yes, your motivation needs to be pure.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it needs to lead towards nirvana. You can't have one because there's the saying, the path to hell is paved with good intention.
Yes, yes.
Yes, so both need to be true.
Yes, in fact, this one, have you heard that the means justify the end? In Buddhism, it doesn't work. Both means and the end has to be skillful. You've heard about that. The means justify the end. No, not in Buddhism. So we have to look at motivation, and that's a very good question. That's why I always I ask, please ask. That's a good clarification. Okay.